my YT channel, I have to repeat my introductory part. I am a YouTube content creator, a social media influencer, and a small YouTuber, Engineer Sotero, Nepomuceno Jr., a graduate of BS Chemical Engineering in Cebu Institute of Technology University, and an OSH professional, occupational safety and health engineer at present as my career path. Okay, going back to business. And I'm very, very happy guys for your support. Okay, really, all my revenues are keep on rising. To be honest with you guys, though it doesn't increase skyrocketing, but at least it has to be enhanced daily ala too. Okay, going back to the topic, but it's gonna be, my topic here is not a continuation of the physical, chemical, and separation processes. It's gonna be another topic, but this is very useful because it can be adopted and it can be applied to various pure sciences, especially engineering science. Okay, engineering science, what we mean by that, it is purely pure sciences, chemistry, physics, something like that. Different branches of chemistry, we have a lot, right? Oh my gosh! Okay, not limited only to the physical chemistry. We have also, aside from the physical chemistry, we have the qualitative chemistry, quantitative chemistry, okay, clinical chemistry. Clinical chemistry is a very interesting part because it deals with medicines and the interaction of different biological substances and chemical substances when it comes to medicines, something like that, pharmaceutical products. If we talk about clinical chemistry, and not only that, we need to study the physiology and the anatomy of a human being, and then that's the time we connect that to the clinical chemistry. So clinical meaning hospital related type of topics, but using the knowledge of chemistry. This is very, very important because we need to survive in this contemporary world, and we need knowledge how to prevent any diseases. Okay? In here, God, guys, oh my Lord and my God, I mentioned you. Praise God, I'm still alive right now. Okay, now going back, we need to relate, guys, the human being, as I said before, the anatomy and the physiology, the interaction of biological and chemical substances in our body in order for us to survive. And there, we need to understand the chemistry of our body, the immunology, chemistry in our body. And that's the time we need also to understand a little bit of epidemiology, the study and control and prevention of diseases in connection to chemistry. We need to understand that also. Okay, then if we have an idea for that also, we need to learn day by day that we need to control ourselves to any deadly substances. Whatever deadly substance, oh my gosh. So Sotero, I cannot understand what's deadly substances. Actually, there are, but it depends on the consumption. Okay, how often you take those substances. Okay, again, based on my knowledge, as what I researched in Harvard University Public School of Health, the most deadly substance is sugar. Based on the records in the whole world, different hospitals around the world, and different PhD, sorry, major in medicines and doctor of medicines. Really, sugar is the most killer substance in the entire universe. It's not the fat, FAT, that we can derive from the meat, it is sugar. And we need to control sugar. Sugar is in a wide variety. Not only taste sweet, but a lot we encounter in our daily in our daily lives. For example, if we eat rice, any colors rices, yellow rice, violet rice, blue rice, white rice, like that. Those fortified with a lot of glucoses, mainly sugars. Okay, that's also part of organic chemistry. Okay, so now tayo organic chemistry, quantitative chemistry, qualitative chemistry, clinical chemistry. We have also environmental chemistry is very, very important in order for us to survive. And the most basic topic for that, guys, is we need to understand the process of photosynthesis. It's a chemistry of obtaining light from the sun in order we can produce carbon dioxide and water coming from the energy sources plants, right? Through the plants, it will carry the light, okay, from the sun, and then oxygen will be produced, will be added, sorry, and will produce carbon dioxide plus water, okay? So just like a combustion, something like that, it's gonna be the reverse. If we have the combustion in petroleum industry, right, or any kind of what you call it, power plant industries, or gas industries, water or chemical industries. So most of the processes involve combustion process, like the addition of oxygen to produce carbon dioxide and water. But this is gonna be the reverse. Carbon dioxide plus water, okay, to produce energy sources, carbohydrates, proteins, blah blah blah, so and so, in order for us to survive. So basically, guys, if we don't have plants, we will die because 80 to 90% main source of our food coming from the plants. Okay? And also the animals. Okay? So animals cannot survive, especially the chicken. The chicken, the, oh my gosh, the pig, what else? The cow, okay? Then human being try to kill them in order that to become our food, right? So these animals also gain oxygen from the environment. Okay, if there's no oxygen, you will also die. Then we cannot also live in this world without the animals. Because animals and plants are our main source of food. And we need to understand the chemistry of our environment. Okay, because basically, in our environment, plants plus animals are not limited to the macro animals, meaning big animals such as the mammalia, phylum mammalia, phylum reptalia, something like that, phylum amphibia in our biology, if you can remember that one, kingdom of the species kingdom in our biology. So we human being belongs to the most high class animal, or the phylum mammalia. Okay, the human being, something like that. And they're not referring only to macro animals, but also micro animals, or any form of living organisms. So any living organisms would try to react to the resources around us, the plants, okay, the animals, the air, and the atmosphere. That would be our ecosystem, if there's an interaction. And our ecology is our environment. Okay, it's gonna be like that. And it's in there that we need to understand the chemistry of our environment, meaning environmental chemistry. Why? If we don't have knowledge and thorough knowledge to environmental chemistry, then how can we survive? Okay, it's gonna be like that always. Our environmental chemistry is very important, like the land. Okay, the land or the earth, and we have the water or the sea, and we have the air. So, as a human being, we have also the role to protect our environment in order for our young generations to survive, something like that, okay? And we don't have to be reminded to do our part to save our resources, okay, to nurture our planet Earth. We need to be an environmentalist in our own little way. And how can we do that? Is we have to have an idea of pure sciences, especially the chemistry plus the biology. Not necessarily the physics, because physics are necessarily a branch of science that deals with matter and energy. We're not talking about energy here or any actions. Okay, we're talking here only the chemistry and the biology. Actually, partner din siyang dalawa. Biology and chemistry. Okay? Apart from that, guys, we need also to understand the physical chemistry. Okay? Because physical chemistry also is very important. Especially, for example, oh my gosh, if I will make my coffee, what's gonna be happening? If I will, boil water, oh my gosh, what's gonna be the temperature for this? Would this water molecules evaporate to the atmosphere? Or even though the room is closed system, something like that. And we need to, just like me, I'm alone in my room. Really, I can observe what's happening inside my room because I'm alone. I have no interaction with anybody else. Okay, during day off, Friday and Saturday. I have only interactions with any human being during, okay, Sunday until Thursday because I am a safety engineer. I have to have a thorough safety inspection and monitoring to our plant, and sometimes also do a lot of OSH, occupational safety, and have documentation in the in the office. So I have to interact also with the people in our department and to other departments as well. And you have to interact to them. Really, you don't have to be silent. You have to be vocal. You have to be, you have to talk. What's going wrong? Okay. So nobody teaches you to do that. If we need to save the world, then you have to do something. Okay? It doesn't mean that nobody is reminded you to do that, to save our planet Earth. You have to do your part, being a professional and being having knowledge, especially we are professionals, right? All of us, some of us are professionals, and we do our best to protect our environment. It starts within us. Okay, the same, for example, I am working in OSH, it starts within me. Okay, talk about being an environmentalist. It starts also being you, right? Even though nobody teaches us to do that. It's our main responsibility to nurture and to care our planet Earth and to do things to save our planet for the younger generations. So in my part also, as a YouTube content creator, I have also the responsibility to share my knowledge to anybody else, to our future generations, so that I can transmit my knowledge to them in the future. Because I cannot deny, I will die 60 years old, 70 years old. Sayang lang, di ba? My knowledge will be going to nothing. Okay, aside from applying that in my day-to-day life, and then it will be more fruitful and worthwhile if you can share that to the young generations. Okay, we can transmit our knowledge to them for our future. The world's need our children because they are the one who govern our world in the next generation to come, and we will guide them and we will try to educate them also as far as we could. Okay, being, for example, being an engineer or being what endeavor you are now, you have the responsibility to do that. Okay? It's all about science. Okay, CISCE, because without science, all of us will die. Okay, but remember, even though we don't have money, we can still be alive. Okay, you get the point? That's the only clear difference to gauge which is more important. Okay, money or science. The important is science because we could still be alive without money. If we will just be a hard working to have our garden, to have plants, and plants will become our food. Okay? And the animals raise an animal and it will become also our meat. Something not necessarily have money to survive, but of course we need to do that in order to intensify our resources around us in order for us to survive. Right? Okay, that's the main reason also I took up this chemical engineering. Not on the money part. Actually, there are business, finance, accountancy, psychology. There's a lot, but I'd rather pick up a science course. That's also part of my, objective. It's not limited only to that. Because in science, it's very broad. You can study a lot in our planet Earth, within in our planet Earth. So really, like that, really. So we cannot survive without science talaga siya. Even though we wake up, we breathe oxygen already, and oxygen is already chemistry. Okay? When we urine, it's already a biology. Okay? It removes the different electrolytes from your body to clean your urinary bladder to avoid infections. That's why you drink water to replenish the fluids of your body in order for us to survive. Something like it's already a science. So basically, second to second is a science. Okay? A study of pure sciences in order for us to survive. Okay, nilayo ko guys, no? Ang sabi ito kong topic. Tabian kayo si June. Nga na ko guys, sorry kayo. Ha? Oh, niubos yun ang mga kong microphone. Grabe yung intensity ko sa akong boses, you know what happens? My voice really losing my naluag yun ang microphone tungkol sa akong voice. Grabe yung powerful na akong voice. Charot. While I keep on talking, salamat kayo sa itanaw karon. Thanks for thumbs up. Oh my gosh, kinsa man ka ko ako kabasa sa iyong pangalan, pa-shoutout na lang mo. Uy, nga, they like, in fairness. Okay. Guys, it doesn't have to be an engineer to learn different science equations and mathematical equations and formulas. Ha! Muna ito ipasok sa atong brain cells. It doesn't have to be an engineer. It doesn't have to be a scientist in order for us to learn mathematical operations and science equations. All of us has the opportunity to learn basic equations that we can be able to use that in our day-to-day life. Something especially mathematical operations, division, multiplication, okay? Subtraction, ganon. Division, di ba? We should know this basic in algebra. Okay, now, so ito kong topic guys, okay? Okay, my topic today, grabe naman ang tagal ko nakaano sa kong topic. Okay, my topic today is di po makarelate masyado, pero sige lang. Okay? I will try my very, very best to... Yes! Oh my gosh, grabe yung boses ko. Thank you, Lord, for this new platform of live streaming and vloggings. I have now my new magnetic whiteboard with eraser and erasable markers for my discussion. So at least I am improving a little bit compared to my traditional way of discussion in which only using the bond papers, blank sheet of papers and writing. Now it's a little bit okay, right? And then we don't know, in the future it will be intensified more. But today it would be enough. Okay, see? I have the blue pencil pen, okay, the black pencil pen. So the red pencil pen and the green pencil pen. Wow! There are 4 colors involved. Gosh. And the erasable erasers. Already na kayo siya. Tada! O, ganon. O, diba? So, grabe. Okay, guys. So, ito kong topic. My topic for today is, I will never say engineering equation because that's too broad, too general. I must say, i-relate ko na lang siya sa course ko, chemical engineering equations. Anyhow, there are equations to be used by other engineers also, ha? Because na may mga related na equations in which can be used also to other science courses and also to other engineering disciplines. Okay? Siyempre, I'm a chemical engineer. I have to correlate that to you. Okay? Ganun siya. So, itong mga equations, mag-start na sa mga basic lang dyan kayo, guys. Okay? So, okay, number 1. Ganun talaga. So, ano sa akin? Uy, mahugod siya ay. Napasak. Okay, alam, mag-coffee ako, guys. Kaloka. Mag-coffee ako para ma-activate akong brain cells, right? We need to activate and energize our brain cells, right? Actually, if you drink too much coffee, it can also weaken the tissues and muscles in your brain cells. But if it is just enough, let's say 3 to 4 times, something like that, based on what I've researched, again, Harvard University Public School of Health. Actually, guys, I'm telling you every time like that because I subscribe the magazine of Harvard University Public School of Health magazines online, and every time they will send me a magazine, guys, I will read their information about health, type, and science. So that's why I have a little knowledge of some, okay? Because I'm not a health professional, okay? I'm not a doctor, I'm not a medical technologist, okay? So our science is more on the process, okay? Not more on the medical point of view. But there's also interconnected, especially the the BS pharmacy. The BS pharmacy have a lot of chemistry, right? So related niya na nga course because they are also, fortified. Is it the right term? Fortified? Meaning they are have abundant chemistry, and you have also abundant chemistry, the chemical engineering, the same as the BS chemistry. But the only difference, guys, in chemical engineering, we are more focused on the practical application, on the technology. Okay, practical application of the technology. Involving the concepts and principles of science. Okay? So, macro scaling, guys. Large scale. Because the chemist more on the micro scale. inside the laboratory. But the chemical engineering is large scale. But the same thing, digging up the chemistry principles, science principles. But what I mean, natin siya yung mga practical applications of technology and mathematics. It's gonna be like that. Okay? Mahibong siya ko ano mo. Si Sotero, di makaka-bright of math. Yes, didn't ko bright on math, but I developed in studying a lot. Okay? To be honest with you. Okay, because there's no bubo in this world. All you have to do is just study a lot. Okay? And then, sige siya ka down. Uy, maglabot siya ko na kung napalit ng stand, guys. Upaubos man siya. Okay, charot. Diba? So, practical application of the technology in combination of the mathematics and the pure sciences in the conversion of raw materials into useful products. So that's gonna be the center of Bachelor of Science in Chemical Engineering. There's a conversion because we need to understand the chemistry involved in different physical and chemical separation processes. It's in there that we need to understand really how fast and slow the chemical reaction really is. That's why we have chemical engineering kinetics and reaction kinetics. In order, we need to really to understand the behavior and characteristics of those substances that we feed in different process vessels, tanks, process lines, system to system like that. We need to understand what's going on. Okay, because if you don't maintain the parameters, then the lines will be affected in the future. It could undergo bursting of the pipes and it will explode. Or it could have a rusting process, the interaction of iron and the water. Okay, what do you call this one? Iron chloride or ferrous chloride, the rust. It can eaten up the outer surface of your pipelines. Okay, if you've eaten up the outer surface of the pipelines, then it is the source of leakage of your pipelines, and it's a great loss of your energy in the future. We need to prevent that. The only way to know that is to study the behavior, okay, the chemical and the physical characteristics and properties of substances that will flow to those lines. Okay, it's not enough to know the operation of the lines to lines, di ba? May mga, let's say, check valve. Okay, we have safety valve. We have gate valve, bowl valve, something like that, mga flanges. Okay, we have a lot of mga chuba-chucho, mga pressures indicator transmitters, volume indicator transmitters. We have the temperature indicator transmitters, or instrumentation, devices installed in our different process tanks, process vessels. Chemical engineer also should understand that. Okay, because we need to know what's going on really, the entire picture of that process, not only limited to the behavior and the properties of substances in it. Okay, that's why we end up also studying the different parts of mechanical or machineries. Okay, mga ganun siya. To mga mo regulate sa flow, mo control sa flow, mga ganon, and we need to understand that. The mechanical point of view. Okay, we need to understand also not only the chemical, but the mechanical point of view. Kaya asa ba rin siya i-feed itong mga substances? Diba? Sa mga machines, equipment, or sa mga lines. So, you should know also the physical aspects, understanding of those. Right? It's not enough that we are really studying only for the processes. We need also to study and deal. We will expand our knowledge through the both rotating equipment and stationary equipment. Okay, that's why we need to understand the pressure, okay, the temperature, okay, how much power that this motor pump can run to make this fluid will flow to the top level. And engineers have, shall I say, thorough knowledge in that. You need to calculate. Okay? Even though you are not a design engineer, but you have knowledge because you're a graduate of engineering, right? You need to learn those techniques and strategies being a legit engineer. Legit meaning genuine engineer. Because there are other engineers also that they are only passing the subjects, but they let it pass after 5 years. We don't apply in their day-to-day life. And if you ask them, what is the formula of density? They cannot answer. Really. Okay, but there are also legit engineers, even though you ask them simple equation, they can answer. For example, sir, what is the formula of weight? They can answer directly. Okay, even though that's too long, they are graduated in 1978, they are graduated in 1980, and they can still answer. Now, weight is equals to mass times acceleration due to gravity. O, di ba? Ang saya-saya. So, that's gonna be the technique that when you are still young, guys, in your high school and elementary, memorize all the basic mathematical operations and science equations so that you will become a legit engineer in the future. Okay, it's not enough to graduate but legit engineer. Okay? Kaya bisa kayo mga tanin na makatubag dyan ka. Okay, ganon. Okay? Ganon siya, guys. It's not really just to pass the subject, but to learn from your heart and from mind because you will apply that in your day-to-day life. For example, sir, what is a boiling point? Mga nga, sa'yo lagyan kayo ng boiling point, di ka kung ka-answer. Okay? So, ang mga science graduates, maka-answer nila yun what is boiling point, freezing point, melting point, mga ganun siya. Kaya mga, kung ano na siya, mga physical properties. Diba sa chemistry? Physical change, chemical change, gano'n. Okay, maglayo, no? But related lang siya. Okay, magsasuat ako ha. Kapatid, kapamilya, kapuso, kajowa, kaberks, kaaway, ano pa ba? Kapamilya, kapatid, ano ba tawag noon? Wala na. Kaagipay. Ano? Kabalikat. Ay, wow, kabalikat. Mayroon ganun, kabalikat. Ano ibig sabihin ng kabalikat, guys? I'm a Cebuano. Tagalog, di ba? I am a pure Cebuano. Sometimes I cannot understand the deep Tagalog. What does it mean? Okay? Kaagipay. Ano yan? Kaagipay. Kaakibat. Grabe naman yun. Kaakiba. Oh, ganan. Okay, magsusuwat na ko ha. Okay, ganan. So, mag-start. Hello guys, mag-start ka sa pinaka-basic na equation, ang energy equation. Laoy. Guys, energy. Anybody? How can you define energy? Anybody? Class? Anybody can answer the question? You can answer this in your own way or terms of expressing your definition of what is an energy. Okay, because I teach you to create your own words, create your own understanding, not to be bookish, right? We have so many definitions, billions of definitions in the books, but I want you to be creative by having your own understanding, by using another terms in your own understanding. Okay, not just memorizing the entire terms. So what is an energy? Laoy. Kaloka. Ako lang yung mag-answer kay kung ano na siya virtual platform of vloggings, di ba? Ako lang yung mag-answer. Kaloka. Laoy, did you pasod ang whiteboard guys? Kalahin sa nani? Kaloka? Ayoko nito, para kayo lang nag-ano. Diba? Guys, sorry kayo sa ako yung di-adjust kay magsikog tabi ba? Mo down dyan siya tungkol sa akong intensity sa voice. Charot! Charot lang. Diba? Kakaloka. Wait guys. Lah. Kaya pala. Okay. Anaon na di ay nakakaloka, di ba? Okay, ganun nagtaas ani oy. Taas kayo akong microphone. Wow. Taas kayo akong microphone oy. Di ba? Okay na ba guys? Ganun lang. Okay. Na kung microphone mataas kayo kasi lang natin. Yes. Di ko mechanical engineer kaya ano, di ko ka-adjust sa mga ano ba? Mga physical parts. So, mugawas juga akong pagka-chemical engineer. Okay. Di ko maipay ngani-ngani ba natutuyok sa mga kuan, mga bolts and nuts, di ba? Na di kay ko kamao na magbawa ako kuan butubo, di ba? Pero chemical reactions, gani kusog kay kumukuan. Char! Okay? Ganun ay, pwede na ni oy? Pwede na ba? Hello? Pwede na ba? Klaro ba ang screen? Wow. Okay. Energy. So if we talk about energy, it has to do something in studying physics, right? Why? Because again, physics is a branch of science that deals with matter and energy. Okay, as we learn in our basics in our high school, or I think it is being taught in elementary a little bit regarding potential energy and kinetic energy, right? So really remember that one? So that's really the main source of our energy, kinetic energy and potential energy. Two types of energies, okay? And there will be a lot of kinetic energy and also potential energy. Okay? Muna siya pinaka-basic sa mga energy chucho, ha? Okay? Now, I need to define what is an energy. Ang isuwat ha, energy. So, ang katong topic karong higayon na will be energy chart. Energy equations. Ganon. Energy equations. Klaro ba, guys? Okay, energy equations. Then, what is energy? Energy is the capacity and the ability to do work. Okay, so for example, in the future examination, you will encounter written examination, and there's a question like that. Blank is the capacity and the ability to do work. And your answer will be energy. Okay, because guys, I keep on telling you, not all the time multiple choice questions. Sometimes fill in the blanks, enumerations, you have to outline, you have to define, you have to explain, and there's also an essay. Okay, essay questions the best questions because it measures your total learning and total knowledge of the topic and subject. Okay, like that. So the most easier part is the multiple choice because you have to butikaw, ikaw from A to D, your choices. Okay, but you can, if that is a problem solving, you cannot also answer that directly. You have to have your solution in order, because you are just only guessing. It's impossible unless it is a theory. You can guess, but if it's a problem solving, you can never guess. You have to solve it. Okay, muna siya may tabo. Okay, so muna siya again. Energy is the capacity and the ability to do work. Tama. So energy, kaloka, is the capacity, wow, and ability. When you mean of capacity and ability, it's the same meaning. You can understand that it's linked with each other. If you have the capacity, then of course I have the ability to do that. Okay? Because if you don't have the ability to do that, then you don't have the capacity to do that. Right? It's very easy to understand and comprehend, right? Any questions so far for the term? Okay, capacity and ability is directly related to each other. Okay, so capacity and ability to do work. Now, we need to himay-may each term. When I was in college, I started this when I was in high school. I need to himay-may. You know what himay-may? Meaning to say I need to scrutinize one by one, word for word. What does it mean? Something like that, so I can understand clearly, especially the description of terms. So that I can say, this is a pronoun, this is an adjective, this is a verb, this is a linking verb, this is a preposition. Okay, something like that. This is a third third pronoun, third personal pronoun, secondary personal pronoun. Even though I'm studying a science course, an engineering course, I still have to adopt the learning of English. Okay, something like that. Then I slowly carried that ability and attitude when I was in college. Then since we know, guys, English is an international language, most or majority of the questions are expressed in English. I found out you have an advantage if you really have a clear understanding of English, you can really understand what's going on, especially the vocabulary. Okay, if you have not really that adequate, if you have really a strong background of vocabulary, then you can understand really the problems. Though not all, but it's an advantage. Okay, because as we know, in our classroom instructions, sometimes there are terms that usually duplicated daily a la tool to be used every time. There's no such changes of that word to be applied. Now, the only difference if you encountered examinations in the future, it will be varied to another term. And then sanay ra ka ato nga term, maglibog dayon ka. Okay? So, for example, solubility and concentration is just equal. Okay? They have the same meaning. Okay, get the point? And pressure also sometimes can be equated as a shear stress. Okay, in the flow topic in transport phenomenon called momentum transfer. Okay, you remember the topic of unit operations, transport phenomena. Okay, so pare-pareho ra siya. And we should not be dependent also to that. Ha? Get the point? Naputi kita ko ibang akuan. Viscous force. Oh, mga ganan. Imagine, viscosity pala is a force. Okay, but you know that before that force is not a viscosity, it's another physical property. And then inertial force. Oh, di ba? So inertial force is also a pressure. You get the point? So you should not rely on one common term that we use that every day, daily ala tool in our classroom instruction. You should explore out from the backs what are those another terms that are very important, so that when you encounter examinations in the future, the terms will be varied. You can really understand. It's not enough to memorize the equations and the formulas. It's just all the time like that. As long as you know and understand what's the mechanics and how to solve like that, and you have a basic understanding, you can solve. What I mean, the phrasing of the paragraph of that question. And be careful also with the punctuation, the comma, the period, the question mark, and the exclamation. You need to be smart, okay, in English, not only in the, in the mathematical formulas. Really, it will help a lot, guys, especially if the problem solving is very lengthy paragraph. For example, there are 3 paragraphs in one question. Maglibog baya ka if you don't know, diin siya kutob na ikama, because the scientific assumption, you should have always your basis of calculation. Na kung imong isumpot ang another sentence, it would be another scientific assumption in which it cannot be applied to the other sentence. Nga na siya ang pag-solve sa mga engineering problems, especially worded problems, because there are also problems that are represented in a graph, problems represented in a table, problems represented in a schematic diagram, or problems represented in an illustration. What I mean only is a worded problem solving paragraph to paragraph. Meaning paragraph involves a lot of sentences. So that is the definition of a paragraph. A paragraph is composed of multiple of sentences. Okay? Ganon. Okay, going back. So energy is equal to the capacity, the ability to do work. Oh, himay-may. Okay, himay-may. So this is capacity, ability to is purely English. We need to focus on the word. What is a word? Hala. What is a word? Okay, when I do my work, what comes on my mind, it will give me a strength to do the certain work. And then there's an idea that we apply force. Because you cannot do the work without force. It could either be you push, you pull, you raise, you lower down, you carry, you hold, you move, you act, you dance, you sing, like that. Those are the components of how to do work, right? There's a lot of the action verb, means verb, action. Because it is not a work if there's nothing involved with actions. So basically, if it is work, there's an action involved in it. Okay, that is not stagnant, that is not stationary, that is moving, okay, or dynamic. That's what you mean by action. So that is a word. So meaning energized, okay, alive. So I can do my work like this. I speak in front of you, then I'm alive. Okay? Oh, look at my hands are moving. My eyes are moving. Like that. I have the voice to intensify the loudness and intensity of my voice that you can hear me. And I do a lot of steps, then ganon, chuba chuchu, whatever. Okay, that's still a word. Okay. But aside from having force, what else? It could be having a pressure. Because if there's a pressure, you have to control your force. Okay, so if you cannot control your force, then it will result to, unsuccessful output. You have to maintain the level of your force applied to a certain area. Okay, you get the point? So, in a science point of view, specifically, this is physics really, guys. Okay, so work is equal to the applied force multiplied by the distance covered. Something like that. Now, this refers to horizontal distance covered, not necessarily means the vertical distance covered. Okay? Because we have two types. Okay, the vertical distance and the horizontal distance. But in here, purely we mean of horizontal distance. Okay, I push this microphone there, I covered a distance, right? So I have also to apply force. So that is a work. So there's an action in it. Okay? Ganon. So not limited to that, that is in physics, but if you go to practical electricity, our work there will not be the same. So our work there will be the electrical energy or the power multiplied by the time. Nagkalalim. Okay, but engineers knows this. This is not malalim. This is just basic in practical electricity. Because it is derived from power is supposed to work over time. Okay? That's why we have, talaga siya, di ba? If we take a look of our electrical billing or consumption of electricity, di ba? Watt per hour, watt per hour, watt per hour. Because that's the unit of power or electrical energy. Watt is our work and hour is our time. That's why power or electrical energy is equal to work over time. The watt is just a unit of work and the hour is just a unit of a time. That's why it becomes watt per hour as your unit in your electricity consumption in your house, in your building, in your factory, or whatever, chuba chucho. It's gonna be there. Okay? So again, power is equal to work over time. Then work is equal to power times time, and work is equal to force times distance. Now, it is only good for horizontal distance, no, diba? So work is equals to force times distance. Okay, we need to learn this if our course especially is engineering, because common education sa engineering. Okay, did you ninyo siya kalimutan? You should ipasok ninyo sa inyong brain cells. Okay? For me, I started memorizing this when I was in elementary, because in elementary, I think grade 6 or grade 5, touching a little bit of physics and chemistry already. And this is just very basic. Work is equal to force and distance. I memorized that. Pag first year college na ako, wala na ako mag-result. Because na naman ko yung mga foundations, basic science foundations. It's gonna be like that, our culture and attitude of studying. It doesn't mean only that we have to pass the subjects. We need to know and understand that in order for us to apply that in our day-to-day life. Practical application is more important. That is the real substance in studying, in obtaining knowledge through our education. Secondary na lang if we have to pass. Okay? You get the point? Muna siya. Okay, so work is equal to force times distance. Okay? And work is equal to power times time. Ganon! O diba? Nakaloka. So, in practical electricity, sa mato na hinunduman, nasa tayo Ohm's law. Physics again. You love physics, guys? Raise your hand. Physics. Physics. Who is the father of modern physics? Tang, 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 tang. The answer will be Isaac Newton is the father of modern physics. Okay, ganan. Nag-review lang po, sakali nakalimot mo. Okay? Ganun siya. So, if we have this work is equal to power times time, then we correlate this to the Ohm's law. Actually, because there are two laws in electricity. We have the Kirchhoff's law and the Ohm's law. Diba? If you could still remember our practical electricity engineering, there's a Kirchhoff's law on how to solve the circuits. Diba? Series circuits and parallel circuits, and we need to cut it off in order we can understand how to compute for the resistance, how can we compute the voltage, like that. And electrical engineers are very smart to this topic. I am not an electrical engineer, but I have only a small idea to this, like that. But there are two laws, the Ohm's law and the Kirchhoff's law. Okay, now, so in our Ohm's law, of course, discovered by Mr. Ohms. So we have voltage. Ano po po ang formula? Okay, nakalimot ko, but it's gonna be voltage is equals to current times resistance. Okay? Voltage is equals to current times resistance. Now, voltage is, of course, volt. Charara. I is equals to unit. Ampere. Ganon. Resistance is ohms. Hala. Okay. Ganon. Now, I have to introduce another value of ohms, not limited to only to ohms. So another unit of ohms. Ohms is just equal to the reverse is the mho. Okay, NHO. So, ang reverse sa ohms, 1 over ohm is NHO. Okay, like that. Okay, now, so the reverse or the reciprocal of ohm, in which we say that it's a reciprocal to resistance. Okay, reciprocal man ang unit, right? The reciprocal of resistance is defined as the Siemens. Okay, that's why we have a Siemens brand. The Siemens brand of technology, that Siemens is a unit. S-I-E-N-E-N. And that unit is equivalent to 1 over the ohm, in which ohm raised to the power negative 1, basically the same, right? And algebra. And then that is also a mho, MHO. Basically, MHO or the mho is just equal to, or 1 mho is equal to 1 Siemens. Okay, for example, if there are questions in the future that will say, how many Siemens in 350 ohms? Mga kakaroon man kay idea sa conversion factor, how to convert the Siemens from mho. Now, if you have a vast knowledge of other units in corporation, meaning you correlate the different possible units in one term, such like this, for example, then you can understand really. So just compute. 353 ohms, 1 ohm is equals to 1 Siemens, then you can compute for that. You get the point? Muna siya, guys. Muna siya ang unit sa Siemens is the reverse of the resistance, or the reciprocal of resistance, something like that. Okay. Now, ato dyan siya yung topion tagsa-tagsa. Charot. Nakaloka. Okay. Ganon ha. Now, so naman tayo V is equals to IR. Charot. Now, mangutan naman sa naman kayo relation to I. I is current, right? Oh, current. Ilayo ko no, ako lang dyan siyang i-incorporate this kay kani siya importante siya kay ang electricity that we need to know kay madaya ba ta sa atong mga consumption sa Veco, Meralco, like that. If we don't take a look at our monthly billing and we don't know, they will cheat us. Then if we have an idea of the clear calculation, how to compute the monthly electricity consumption, then we're very happy to do that. We can complain to the teller, to the Meralco office, oh, why you compute like this? Something like that. Because errors will always be there. They are just human beings. And even machines commit mistakes. Because machines have operators, still human beings how to operate. Okay? It's not a robot. The robot doesn't necessarily need a human being to operate. But the machine and the equipment needs an operator, a human being to operate. Then if the human being will commit errors in how to operate, then the output also will be wrong and in technical error, chuva-chucho. That's why we need to have an understanding for this. So, okay. Going back. Ganun siyang may tabo. Now, We have also the formula of power is equals to work over time. Right? Power. Pwede nyo makita, guys? Okay na, makita na, no? Oh, kaloka. O, di ba? Power is equals to work over time. Kaloka. Kaya siya, guys, this is not limited only to electrical energy. This could also apply to, for example, doing exercise, okay, in the gym, okay, doing your job. So, for example, if you are going to the gym, how much calories will be released after doing the exercise for 1 hour? Okay, then we have the work is in calorie because that is the fats released in your body or the calories released in your body. So calorie is the unit of work, right? Then calorie over the time. So calorie per hour. So how many calories expel from your body after 30 minutes, after 1 hour? That is still called power. But in another point of view, which is the metabolism. Okay? Because power is not limited only to electrical energy. It's also chemical energy, thermal energy, pneumatic energy, diba? Potential energy, kinetic energy. So there's a lot. Radiation energy. Okay? So dynamic. Okay? You remember the dynamic, right? Dynamic energy involves pressure, dynamic pressure. But later na siya. Okay? So now, so ang power, guys, nasa na siya yung basic equation that you have to memorize also. Not limited only to this. We have power, okay, is, you can say also that it is the capacity and the ability to do work. Because power, as I said already, is an energy. So do not be deceived also to answer that one. For example, if the question in the future, blank is the capacity and ability to do work, your answer is energy, right? So you could also answer power because basically power is an energy like this. Okay, but if it is a multiple choice question, you can answer either power or energy, but you can never answer another quantity. For example, if you revise the question like this, blank is the capacity and ability to do work. A, power. B, work. C, pressure. D, force. E, all of the above. Maglibog kagamay, no? Because ang force of pressure involved na siya sa power of work. So you have to think only the power and the work. So your answer will be A and B. Ganon siya ang mga board examination. Okay? Multiple choice siya. So you have to analyze well your choices. You should have an educated guess. Or your, what do you call this one? Logical hypothesis. Okay? An educated guess. Okay, that is hypothesis part of scientific methodology in your scientific research. For example, if you have a thesis or a project that take up masteral studies, then you have to understand what are those scientific methods in order you can have your scientific research in your thesis study. Okay, depends on what masteral subject or topic you'll be able to take up. Something like that, okay? So requirement gives siya ang hypothesis before you can come up with a conclusion. Okay? Ganon. So, power is equals to current times the voltage. Wow. Current times the voltage. Now, ako na siya tagsa-tagsaon. Dili pa ka sa work, ha? Oh, ganon. Power. So power, okay. So watts over hour, right? Lagi siya watts per hour kung electrical energy siya. So basically pala guys, pag mo-refer to power, no, what comes on our mind? It involves time. Power and energy involve time, whether it is a matter of a second, or whether it's a matter of a minute, or whether it is a matter of a day, or a month, something like that. As long as we understand that there is a time involved in that unit, so meaning to say time dependent. There's a dependency of the time, so basically a rate rate. We speak of the rate that is normally a ratio of one quantity in the numerator and other quantity in the denominator of a fraction. That's why it says power is equals to work over time. Our numerator is the work and our time is our denominator. So that will be the ratio of the two quantities you are trying to put in that particular equation. Diba? Ganon. So kung atong i-revise ang question, yun na, true or false na po that, because there's a question regarding true or false also, ha? What I try to teach you guys is to, is to widen or intensify your knowledge of what are those type of questions that will be coming out in the future examination. Since we know we have multiple choice, enumeration, listing, outline, define or definition, okay, like that. You have to identify, matching. You have to match column A and column B, like that. We have the essay, you have the problem solving, and then we have also true or false. Okay, questions. So there are 10 types. Actually, there's a lot pa siya talaga. Okay, but we limit ourselves to 10 types of questions in different examination all over the world. This is all over the world. Okay, so because all universities are applying these types of questions, right? Okay, this is typical. Okay, if we say like that, for example, I will revise the question. So I will say, is work is dependent on time? True or false? Your answer will be true. Because it can never be work. There's no work done if there will be no time. That is time dependent. Okay. For example, if I do my job in my not safety, let's say general, you do your job in general. The time is running, right? And then your sweat are coming out. What happens? There's an energy because sweat coming out. Sweat coming out meaning that is calorie in terms of an electrolytes, because most of the sweat are electrolyte substances, salts, okay, and some water, moisture from your body, and some fats also, okay, removed and expelled from the body. So there's an energy that you be able to produce, and there's electrolytes being expelled, and there's a time after 2 hours, 3 hours in performing your job. Meaning, work is dependent in time. So your answer will be true. Okay? Now, I have to modify the question like this. Is power, another term. Is pressure dependent to time? Pressure. Di makalibog po siya, di ba? Try to consider the formula na siya. So pressure is equal to the applied force perpendicular to the surface area. There are no time involved in that, so that is false. Pressure, it is not dependent on time. So your answer will be false. So usually, guys, as a technique, you can see that in the equation or formulas. If the terms and quantities are not there, so that is independent. Okay, something like that. If the quantities are there, that is dependent. Okay, now, if you try to be specific more, we have also what we call relationships in algebra, in the sense the directly proportional and the inversely proportional. Now, this is a trick. When you say dependent and independent, that is could either be directly proportional or inversely proportional. It doesn't mean that it's independent in time, that is not directly or inversely proportional. You can see either. So that's based on your equation na talaga siya. So what I mean, if I say dependent, it doesn't tantamount, it is not tantamount to directly proportional. If I say dependent, that could mean also either directly proportional or inversely proportional. And that is the time you take a look on the equation and a specific formula. For example, I have this here. Okay, power is equal to work over time. We know that power is dependent with time. So, meaning to say with dependent, it is not inversely, okay, and it's not also directly, we need to investigate, okay, like this. Since the time is in the denominator, that is inversely proportional, okay, and there are also cases that it should be also directly proportional. if that is in the numerator. So, work is directly proportional with power and time is inversely proportional with power. Both work and time is dependent to power. You get the point? Because if it is independent, guys, it will never appear in the equation. You get the point? So that's the technique how to understand the formula and equation. Gamay na kini siya nabutang pero importante kay siya if you talk up science courses and engineering courses. Kaya mauwi na siya pero niyo magbalik-balik ang mathematical relationships. For example, if I have let us say if I have an evaporator or it's a heat exchanger, something like that, if there's a flow of, shall I say, a gas, this is only hypothetical, it's not subject to reality, it's only an example in order for us to understand. Okay, if there is a gas that will pass to a certain opening with a diameter of, let's say, internal diameter of 2 inches, and it will go out to a 4 inches diameter in the outlet. So you could say, what's the relationship between the velocity of that gas in passing to the opening in relationship to the gas in passing in the outlet? So you have to take into account the dependency and the independency of the relationship between the velocity and the diameter of that particular gas in question. We are saying that because we are only dealing with generalities. General. I did not mention what kind of gas is that. Okay? Like that. So it's gonna be the relationship of the velocity to the area, and you need to remember what's the relationship of the velocity to the area. Okay, ganon. And that's the time also you have to remember the formula of area. Oh, there's a lot. Could it be a cross-sectional area? Could it be a surface area? Okay, it could be a lateral surface area. Lateral in which you will consider the length, not only the circumferential area. Okay, so remember area is equals to pi dl. So that is lateral, and the surface area is not the same. That is applied usually in the rectangular, and the shape must be in a a square, a rhombus, a trapezoid, like that. But if you deal with the other, which is ellipse or elliptical shape, or round or cylindrical, you need to use the cross-sectional area sa opening sa mga pipe, chupa. Muna to siyang area is equal to pi r squared. Ganon. Or pi d over 4. Diba? Ano ba na siya? Pi d over 4. Pi r squared. So, i-compute na siya para di ta makalimot kaya. Namtay pi r squared, since we know diameter is equal to 2 times radius, makuha mo how to compute the area in terms of d. Kaya di man ko sure kung ano ba to siya, pi d squared over 4 ba to siya, or pi d over 4. So, let's compute na nakalimot ko. So, if we have 2r is equals to 1 diameter, then this is computing, nakalimot ko ha. So this is an example. Nakalimot ko sa formula in terms of diameter. Since I know that 2 times radius is equal to diameter, and I memorized that area is equal to 2 pi r squared, I have to deal with this. Okay. Okay, ganun siya may tabo. Area is equals to pi r squared. Then r, solving for r in algebraic expression, we can say r is equal to d over 2. So pi over d over 2 times 2. So this is pi d squared over 4. So the formula of area is not pi d over, this is pi d squared over 4. At least I know how to derive if I forget the other formula. But what formula would be enough? Ako siyang ginomorize before, nakalimut man ko. So at least I have still one left. Okay, which is pi r squared. So, makompute mo nga, pi d squared over 4 siya. The same as pi r squared lang siya. Even though nakalimut ko sa pi d squared over 4, napatyo ko yung option. Okay, that's the benefit of maximizing the equations, formulas that you memorize, not only limiting to one. Okay? Muna siya may tabo. So in that, kabako ka mo-derive. Ayan. So, muna siya. So, power, sana na. Inom sa kong coffee, uy. Nakakaloka. Okay, ako sa Vicente Wasson, guys, ha. Makita ninyo? Laoy. Makita ninyo, no? Tayo pasa. Okay. Sana na. Okay, power. So, ang power Ang unit of power, guys, there's a lot, right? Energy na siya kasagaran. So, when we speak of energy, guys, something, di ba, calorie, kilocalorie, what, joules, British thermal unit, mga ganun siya, chupa-chuchu, right? BTU. Okay? What else? There's a lot, right? And limited lang taan kayo, huwag tabudil of mga loud. Okay. So, I is current, so ampere volt. Charot. So the unit of power in terms of, ampere volt is ampere volt siya. But since we need to avoid duha bitaw kakuan magsumpot, we need to avoid one term lang siya. Kung saan nato pagpahagi ni kayo na. Okay. Now, ato hinungduman guys sa katong theory ni kisa man siya wait. This is a theory of, I think this is the theory of, sorry, my brain cells are not functioning very well now. I have to remember. This is the theory of Mr. Coulomb. If you can remember Mr. Coulomb. So Mr. Coulomb discovered that electric charge value. Okay, unsa man ko siya? Katong 1.602 times to the negative 19 Coulomb. Okay, so, may nga nata na. Ayun yung kalimti kasi pasok yun sa inyong brain cells. Di pasok man ako sa mga brain cells, pero nakalimut, murag ako kakuha dahil kay, may kuhan siya, nag-loading pa siya akong brain cells. So, wala siya yung nga, 1 electric charge is equals to 1.602 times 10 to the negative 19 Coulomb. Okay? Like this. Muna siya electric charge. Ayun yung siya kalimti ha. Ang 1.602 times 10 to the negative Coulomb, huwag na siya electric charge value when we deal of electricity or electrical energy. Now, in this way, Mr. Coulomb, as a scientist, discovered also another formula which is equal to Q na siya. Electric charge, ang yung symbol na gihatag ni Mr. Coulomb is small letter Q. So that's why we have Q, or electric charge, is equals to, gano'n siya. So equals to the current. Okay, ganun siya, times the time. Uy, sorry sa, nakarelate na mo, hindi pa dyan siya. Okay? Usually, makarelate ang engineering lang, pero di man siya liso, di ba? You can still get, okay? So, we have electric charge is equals to the current times time. We can say this, that electric charge, or shall we say, electricity, okay, is equal to, or ampere is equals to the charge, electric charge over the time. Kani siya guys, we will do this. This is very useful in semiconductor industries or in electroplating industries in sa Cebu. Yung mga electronics industry, especially mga electroplating, i-plate and copper and bronze like this. Okay? So, usually involves yung oxidation process, right? Chemistry. Muna siya pwede gamitin sa electroplating. Okay? Electric charge is equals to Q over T sa semiconductor industry. Yung mga metals ba? Okay? Nasya sa muna ang basic principle nilang gamiton. I is equals to Q over T. Kani siyang charge, muna siya ang Coulomb. So this is Coulomb over hour. So, ingon din kanina yun na that ampere, because ampere is the unit of current, so ampere is equal to Coulomb over hour. So therefore, Coulomb per hour is the unit of our current in this equation. Okay? Ganon. So, muna na siya ng tabo. Okay? So, and ingon na ta guys na Q, electric charge equals to I times T. So we can say also that 1 Coulomb is ampere second. But just looking on the equation and then try to put each unit in it, then we can say that this unit is equal to this unit. Ganun siya, based on your formula. Scrutinize one by one. Okay? Ganun siya. Just like in English comprehension, we need to scrutinize one by one to understand, for example, to understand the story, to understand the novel, to understand the poem or poetry, or editorial writing or certain articles, okay, by our journalists. We can really scrutinize term by term like that in a paragraph, just like this also. But what is the difference? Is we need to scrutinize and evaluate the numbers, the variables, the units. It's just like that. Okay? Muna siya po. So, kung natin power is equals to current times voltage, so naman sa tayo work is equals to power times that. Ipasok din mo ang values of power in here. Ganon mo na siya yung hitabo. Okay, so we can say na work is equals to current times voltage times time. Muna siya atong bagong formula sa work. You get the point? Okay? Yeah, tanawa na din nyo guys. Dagan pa kayo siya mga formula. Hindi na ako iyag-yag tanan ha. You should also know that this voltage has a formula. This current has a formula. Then substitute that there and you can create your own formula. Ganon siya ang technique sa engineering. Okay? Ay, yung pagsalig sa, sa instructor lang, ganon, whatever. You should explore, okay, more. Okay? Apart from the classroom instruction, do a lot of research by your own, taking time in the library, validate the sources why you cannot understand. There's a lot of authors of the book. Then go to the books that are very easy to understand also, because there are books that presents their sample problems very difficult. When I was in college first year, oh my gosh, mabuang ko, di ko kasabot. And then when I go to another book, this is very good compared to this book like this. I go to another section and get another books like that. In a day, I could reach to 4 to 10 books, something like that. And then by then, I slept in the library. And somebody waking me up because I already slept in the library. Okay, just reading like that. And if you do that kind of attitude, you will really reap good harvest in the future. Okay, so that you will become a legit and genuine engineer. Then you have to do a lot of efforts aside from the classroom instruction. Not only passing your subjects and grades, but you have the goal to understand it, to apply in your day-to-day life, and also apply that in the real world when you are now working. So that is the purpose of knowledge derived by your education. Okay, ganon. That is purely academic. It's another thing that mga values education, how to do or act in the society, in code of ethics. That's another thing also. What I'm talking here is the academic information, or not you have to be respectful. There's another thing also that's not covered with this type of vlogging. This is only purely academic information, guys. It's not the teaching you how to behave in the society, teaching you how to behave in the community. It's another story. Okay? In here, it's purely academic information, regardless of how bad and good you are as a person. Okay? You get the point? Because this is academic information. Lahat may karapatan to understand. Hindi lang yung mga Diyos-Diyusan na mga tao. Whether you are a very worst person, you can also have the chance and privilege to learn. Okay? Even though you are a killer, you have also the privilege to learn. And upon your learning then, you will change yourself. After one day, you will not become a killer. Because you learn that what you do in killings is not good. So that's also like that. Okay? So everybody has the privilege to learn. Okay? Not limited to children, adult, like that. Everybody has the privilege to learn, but a continuous learning process or continuous learning cycle. Okay, so that means that learning is continuous and will never stop, even up to your last breath. Ganun. Okay. Well, there is this one already. Napasok na sa inyong brain cells? Or wala pa? Same guys, no? Okay, I may say this because this is just only not the, pa siya katong mga unit operations, magbuang na ko atong mga dito kapita. Okay? Pero kung sa tanan dyan ninyo, no, dahil na kayo siya, wow. Lagi, ganon. Okay, guys. May tabo. Okay. Now, kaya na naman good guys, when we are working, especially if we are an engineer, something like that, no, at tutang mabutang sa mga technical aspects, we will be assigned on the technical issues. And then, technical issues needs to understand what is the science out of that? The technology involved in this, the calculation, like that. Because if we don't know that, nga, okay, wala kakibong sa temperature, now, bagsak pressure ditaan kay temperature, pressure are the operating parameters in the process. Okay? Temperature, pressure, volume, the adding of a catalyst and the inhibitor, something like that, the density, the flow rates, the specific gravity, the volumetric flow rate, the mass flow rate, okay, the individual velocity, viscosity, pressure, force are those few quantities that an engineer must learn. Okay? Aside from that, the physical changes, what I mean, the phase changes. For example, evaporation, condensation, okay, like that. Solidification, deposition, wow, condensation, hanggang ganun chuba-chuchu, you have to learn also. Okay, that is a phase changes. You cannot understand the process well if you will not understand the phase changes. Phase, P-H-A-S-E. For example, from solid to liquid, liquid to gas, gas to solid. You need to understand that. That's phase changes. Okay? And then you need to understand also what are the points. P-O-I-N-T, whether you reach boiling point, whether you reach melting point, whether you reach the freezing point, whether you reach the critical point, whether you reach the dew point, DEW, or whether you reach the flash point of certain substances, mga ganon-ganon siya, you have to understand also. The point, chuba, chuchu. Okay? Memorize. Understand and memorize. I-maximize mo siya tanang point. Okay? Boiling point, dew point, freezing point, kung gano'n siya, critical point. I-memorize, kailangan na siya sa pure sciences permit. Okay? Like that. Freezing point. Mga gano'n. Freezing point of water. What is the freezing point of water? Maglibog dayon ka. Then what is the melting point of water? Hala, pila yung melting point sa water, sir? Okay, di ba? You did not understand clearly what is that all about. Okay, so you need to understand and memorize all the values about that. It doesn't have to be all, but at least the basic, right? For example, the specific heat capacity of water at 25 degrees Celsius. Ganon. The specific heat capacity of a steam. Wow. The specific capacity of the ice. Okay, ganon. The density of air. The density of water. Kaya mga basic lang kayo, paunin mo ang mga importante, yung density, yung specific heat capacity, kaya mabalik-balik na siya per sa mga questions, in sa problem solving. Okay? Yang uban, hindi mo nabutangan nila ang value. Di understood ra nga, at standard conditions, mauna na siya. But that's specified, what is the value. So, imong tema na nga, mauna siya ko ang water, gano'n. Okay? Density, kinaghan ka ng density. Okay, ako i-express ang density ha. So, we remember guys, before, what you ko kasabot ani. Okay. What I know really guys, when I was in first year college school, high school, di ba, like chemistry. Okay, wala sa kong una-una, nagtuo ko guys that all substances, the standard condition of temperature is 25 degrees Celsius. Di ba, at room temperature, the specific gravity of this blah 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 chupa chucho. So if you speak about the room temperature, diba, 20 degrees Celsius to 25 degrees Celsius, that is room temperature, ambient temperature. Did you mention kalimutan mo dyan balik regulation ko guys. Ambient temperature, room temperature, or standard temperature, mauna siya pirmi ang value. 20 degrees Celsius to 25 degrees Celsius. Nasa 20 ra, nasa 25. Pero kung dili yun siya ang temperature, mauna nang gini niya ang standard yung value. Pero kung i-specify siya ang temperature, di bingo, okay. Kasi wala na siya. At room temperature at 20 degrees Celsius, dapat siya takapin. Pero ang ubang problem, dili ba libutan ang specific yung value. So, muna tinong gamitin sa standard. Okay. Nagtuo ko na ang density, mausad na siya at 25 degrees Celsius. I was in high school. Okay, nagtuo ko, dili pala, di ba, na ang mga enthalpy change of formation to a certain substance, right? Heat of formation. Okay, yun nasa tayo mga SRP, standard reduction potential of different substances. Okay, mga AMF nga ba, mga voltages. All substances has its own electromotive force or cells voltage. Kay most of the substances will conduct electricity. Okay, except lang siguro sa sa period last yung mga noble gases and inert gases. Okay, remember the periodic table to as kinaawitan from saan ako pagsulti? From left to right. Ito pinakalas guys, mga inert gases to siya or mga noble gases na mga kuan siya guys ba unreactive. Dili siya mo conduct electricity, not conductive, unreactive siya mo to ang mga krypton, neon, xenon, argon sa last na mga gas, okay? Mo to siya pili mo timanan dito sa last na period mo na siya dili siya reactive ha. Okay, apil ang oxygen dito siya. Oxygen reactive ang oxygen but nitrogen apil sa non-reactive. So inert ang nitrogen ha. Inert gas. So okay. Ang kanang po sa ang inert gas, okay, inert gas, noble gas is just the same in meaning. Okay? Noble gas, inert gas is just the same in meaning. Meaning to say, unreactive gases. A gas that will never react to other substances. Meaning, it is a stand-alone substance, stable by itself, that it doesn't react to any substance at all. Because if you don't react by other substances, meaning to say you're already stable. Just like me, for example, I am accountant. That I have a very very big investment in my bank, so I am now stable. So I don't need any more partnership to other investors because I am already stable by myself alone without collaboration to them. So that means I am not reactive to them anymore. Just like that, the principle of gases also. So this neon, xenon, krypton, argon, and the nitrogen will never react to anybody else because they are already stable by itself. But in this case, that's in terms of the reactivity, how stable they are in the reaction or in the chemical reaction. Okay? Muna siya mahitabo. So saan man mo dito na siya mukuan mo balitok. Unlike oxygen, oxidation process, mga oxidizers din siya. Mo-react siya. Nalaman natin mga carbon dioxide, ang O ba, ang O molecule, oxygen molecule, reactive kaya siya sa iban. But the nitrogen is not like that all the time. Though react siya sa mga ammonia, pero ira-yung pililo niya i-react. Okay? Kay hydrogen ang pares. Okay, N2 plus H2 is equals to 2 moles of ammonia. Di ba, nireact ng nitrogen of hydrogen? But take note, hydrogen is not a metal. So, ira-yung pilion ang yung i-react niya. Okay, we know that hydrogen is the lightest element in the universe. Okay, it has an atomic number of 1.016 grams per mole. So, meaning to say, gaan kayo siya food. So, it can really react with nitrogen also. Okay, except to the other krypton, yes, hindi dito siya katulad siya yung reaction sa saan mo batok-balitok, dito siya react sa mga calcium, magnesium, ganon. Kaya na-reactive. Ang nitrogen, try-to-work ko siya gamay, react ko siya gamay, pero not all. Sa kanang gases lang po kaya nga, kung siya baka ng gamay kaya siya molecular weight or atomic such as hydrogen or let's say helium. It depends on the situation. Awa lang yun yung chemical reaction, obserbahin siya perine. Okay? Yeah. Through observation also, we can learn a lot through observation. And for example, me, not me, it can be to anybody else. For example, you're starting in your elementary level, and then your instructor, because chemistry is a science already discussed in the grade school level, elementary level. Take note when the reaction is given all the time. And then again, high school, okay, 4 years. And again, 5 years engineering. Siya mo di mo kabantay ang sa behavior sa oxygen. Diba? Siya mo di mo kabantay ang sa behavior sa hydrogen. So, saan makabantay mo aside from the theory? Hala, wala ko kakitaan nga reaction or compound. Okay? Di ba wala calcium, helium dioxide, di ba wala? Kaya di mag-reactive ang helium. Yung anak ba? Okay? So, what yung nakasugat ng mga anak, di ba? So, hala, sa libugod dahil ka sa question. Wala siya naman mga rule dito, chupa-chucho. Ganan. Okay, sige mong timanan. Asan mo ko ato? Nalibog. Okay? Muna siya yung tabo. Okay. You should familiarize the periodic table also, guys, ha? If you take all engineering courses, not necessarily all, specifically chemical engineering, you should not memorize. Kung lang din mo ba i-familiarize from left to right to what will happen of your atomic radii. Yung atomic radii, radii is the plural term of radios. Radii, R-A-D. Just like fungi, fungus, phenomenon, phenomena. Okay? In English, singular and plural. Muna siya, alumnus, alumni, or siya, no, not alumnus, alumni. Okay? Singular and plural. Datum, data. Data is the plural of datum. Datum is singular term. For example, if I have only one data, that is datum, not data, because data are a lot of datum. You get the point? So be careful also with the verbs, the singular, the nouns, the collective nouns, okay, matters in that shop. Okay? Mo na siya mahitabo. So imusan na siyang timanan. Okay. Kaloka, di ba? So, ano siya mahitabo? So, we need to understand first, the energy man tanong. Di mo ito kung iunang i-present din. Yung energy equations ba? Ano siya na? Ano, ang oras na ako ini, dinidjud mahuman of one day to discuss everything regarding energy. Sure. Really. Because we are in the engineering course, we took 5 years in the Philippines to finish an engineering discipline course to become an engineering graduate. And we still need another time to take our, licensure examination to become a registered engineer. So it will take more at least 6 years to become a legit and registered engineer. So take a look, and then I just vlog and live stream for this moment. I cannot finish everything about energy equation. Okay, it will take me a lot of years to finish this. Okay, so I just go directly and to be selective in my discussion. Selective wise, I have to choose only the most basic to be used daily tool by the engineers. Okay, energy. Siya tabo pala. Okay, di ba naman ko work is equals to force times distance? Hala. Okay, work is equals to force times distance. Then this is applicable only to horizontal direction. What if, for example, if I will try to move this chair in the inclined position with a certain angle of inclination, what will happen? This will not be the same anymore as work is equals to force times distance. Now, we need to recall the algebra in this situation, the law of Pythagoras theorem. You need to remember that. Memorize now as your young age the Pythagoras theorem, because it will be used also in differential calculus and integral calculus, differential equations, and then advanced engineering mathematics. This 4 again. This will be used in your integral calculus, differential calculus, differential equations, and advanced engineering mathematics. Okay? So, unsa man to? So, Pythagoras theorem. Ang basic niya mo ni siya, c squared is equals to a squared plus b squared, wherein c is our hypotenuse. Okay, hypotenuse. Charot. Okay? Hypotenuse. What is spelling, guys, hypotenuse? Hypotenuse or hypotenuse. Okay. So, actually, this is the law of right triangle. Okay. For example, if the question in the examination, if you say, what is the law of right triangle? It is all about the law of Pythagoras theorem. Okay, and if it is an essay question, then ibutan ang mga equation explain to Chucho. Ganon. Because the question is essay. Okay, but if the question will always say, blank is application of the law of the right triangle. What theory is that? No choices. Your answer will be Pythagoras theorem. Okay, ganon. It is the law of right triangles. I'm not talking about the obtuse. I'm not talking about the isosceles. Okay, triangle. There's a lot of types of triangles, right? Obtuse, isosceles, ganon-ganon, chupa-chucho. We are only referring to right triangle. Meaning there's a 90 degrees in it. Okay, right triangle ba na siya? Atong right triangle ha. Ganon. So, nagid siya 90 degrees. O ganon. So, 90 degrees nagid siya. Per me, if we speak about law of right triangle, is a study of the Pythagoras theorem. O ganon. So, this is the formula. Okay, so hypotenuse is our base. A is our base, and B is our height. Okay, or you can reverse. It's just only a representation of the letter. You can reverse the height and the base, but it's just like that. So hypotenuse squared. Sorry guys. Hypotenuse squared. Di ba kita? Tanawa ra gunoy. Di ba sa yun ra? Algebra naman siya. First year high school. Okay? But ay kumpiyansa kayo, magamit din siya sa college. Okay? So hypotenuse squared is equals to a squared plus b squared. Muna siya natabo. So, we can say in words, hypotenuse squared, or we can say diagonal squared if we try to erect an intersection here. So, muna siya, muna siya hypotenuse. Okay, or diagonal. So, raised to the power 2 is equals to the base a. Shall we say your a is here, and your b is here. So, that is a squared, base squared plus height squared, chuva, chu. That's why if you deal with exponential form, what is the rule for this? If you deal with all r raised to the power 2 in similar number in the power thing in the upper portion to the second power to the third power, and in this situation it's in the second power. So we need to multiply this by raised to the power and half. Right? That's the rule. Pareho gyud siya tanan to cancels out that one to have no exponential. So this is gonna be cancel is gonna be c hypotenuse, then a to cancel this will be the base, okay, the height, and the square root. So this will be your equation of your hypotenuse. Okay, now if I push this chair in an inclined position, an angle of inclination, so we will not use this anymore. So we will try this one also. So for example, so this is your base, and this is your A. Diba your A is the horizontal distance? So you can say, charot. So, mag-review po sa trigonometry. Okay? Trigonometry, aside from the algebra, is a combination of algebra and trigonometry. So in trigonometry, angle of inclination, charot. Isa naman po ay, on the spot tayo kung nag-review, no? Okay, so, okay, as what I remembered, okay, A, B, and this is the angle of inclination. So, if we try to solve the value of this one from here to here, or if we speak about the base, it should be sine theta, S-I-N-E. Theta is the Greek symbol term, just like theta, phi, rho, epsilon. This is the Greek symbol that our scientists before in 16th century to 18th century used. Our scientists, there are a lot of scientists, right? They prefer to use a symbol, a Greek symbol. That's why theta, phi, epsilon, ganon. So this is theta. So if you try to take this one, our base, this is sine theta. So sine theta, so may definition again. So A, okay, ganon, over the hypotenuse C. So A over C, diba? And then our cosine, nakita ninyo gano'n, cosine theta? Wow! Uy, hindi ba kung ganahan sa una, when I was in first year college, second semester na siya. First semester na siya o second semester sa first year college, hindi ko ganahan ng trigonometry. Wow! Lagi, pero ako yung gipugus akong self. Charot! Is to learn. In order for me to learn, of course, right? Trying hard kay kuanin trigonometry. Okay, so we talk about B na po siya. So we need to say opposite na siya. Okay, opposite man siya sa kuan, hypotenuse. When we say opposite na kuan, base, mag-matter siya sa hypotenuse, ang atong reference. As you can observe, natin siya yung C, di ba? Kung saan siya ang atong B. So, kita sa cosine theta, charara, is equal to B over C. Ganon. Okay. Now, take note, asa ma-apply mo ang force ka sa horizontal. Pwede sa diri sa sin theta, pwede sa diri sa cosine theta. So let's say nag-angle of inclination ka nga 30, for example lang siya. So it will become, so ang atong distance mo, consider ang atong distance covered is A. So we need to say sin theta times C. So it's gonna be force times, ganun siya, so D will be equal to A as our distance covered in horizontal direction. So we need to say force sin theta times C. Muna siya yung formula. Okay? Then, kung gusto ka na ang imong distance covered in a vertical position, mo sa siya, so your work will be equal to force times cosine theta C hypotenuse. Ganon. Okay? Now, kung ang imong distance covered in, kung po siya, ni angle of inclination siya nga, ni diagonal po siya, so ang imong kung niya, ang C na po siya nga tangent theta, okay? Giri ko lang ninako siya ha. Tangent theta, kay for sure college pa ko ano, it was 20 years ago. Okay, tangent theta is equals to, see, 20 years ago, but I could still remember. Okay, that's the reason why, because you understand the subject or the topic. Before you memorize, understand first, before putting that one in your brain cells. Okay, tangent theta is equal to, kay, di ba? Ang tangent theta mo kay opposite na sa base, no? It will become A over B. Now, since ang atong A, let's say distance covered horizontal, minusag ka nga, F tangent theta times B. O, ganon, di ba? Nakakaloka? Okay, ganon. You get the point? So, mo na siya pwede kong gamitin ng mga formula if it involves an angle of inclination. So, this topic of the work is in physics. Okay, remember ko ito na push yung black an angle of inclination of 30 degrees. What is the energy required to push the particular block to a certain 30 degrees in 30 degrees uphill mountain? Ganon. So, muna siya mga ilan-ilan portion. Mana na siya mga angle of inclination, ha? So, hindi siya, panahon ni nga siya, pero hindi kay horizontal, naman siya, vertical, gili siya. Now, sa vertical po, guys, take note po that gravity, gravitational force na directed downward. Ay, kadlo, mugamit mo ka of acceleration due to gravity. Kung gihug mo ba ang certain object, for example, you are on the top of the mountain and you drop, for example, an object, any kind of object, that's the time, aside from using this in terms of horizontal calculation of your work, you adopt also the gravity because it's downward. Now, kung i-adapt mo ang gravity sa downward, bubasa ng dapat ka inihigayon na ang work is equal to force times distance. Okay, very clear. Now, mo go back ka sa second law of motion ni Isaac Newton. Diba? You remember that one? May flashback sa akong memory. Magamit ka o second law of Isaac Newton na. Ano ba itong second law of Isaac Newton? So that is the law of acceleration. The second law of acceleration by Isaac Newton. Nga, force is equals to mass times the acceleration due to gravity. Okay, so I have to use this one. So force is equals to mass times acceleration due to gravity. So now, we have another formula. F is equals to mass times acceleration due to gravity. So Sotero, why this is G? In fact, we can say that it is also an A, a simple acceleration, the rate change of velocity. Wow. I remember this when I memorized this in high school. Okay? Acceleration is the rate of change of velocity. Nipilit ko sa akong brain cells until now. Okay? Di ba, grabe? 30 years ago, nipilit nagyan mo sa brain cells. Okay? Kinakasabot man sa akong sa memorize. Okay. So, ano siya? So, force is equal to the mass times the acceleration due to gravity with this G. Okay, ganun na. I-substitute ka rin mo sa F3 alis yung original equation sa work. Okay, now what will happen? It will become work is equals to mass times acceleration to gravity times the distance. Okay, take note, distance is general, right? The capital D in your original equation work is a general effect. It doesn't specify the direction, whether it is a horizontal, incline, or downward. So we need to replace this in a specific term, which is vertical distance. What is that? That is height. So it will become now as work is equals to mg times h. That's why most of the books declare this equation. Mass times the acceleration to gravity times the height. Mo ni siya nitabo na wala na ang capital D in which giderive na po na siya sa katong original ng equation ng work is equals to force times distance. And I thank you. Ganon. Okay, so work is equals to mgh. Mo ni mong gamiton, guys. Okay, now, kung magughug kag mga butang sa taas, elevation problem, muna siya mong gamiton pero may kailangan siya vertical distance or vertical distance is just equal to vertical height. Doesn't need to put the word vertical, but it is understood if it is a height, if it is an elevation, okay, that is already vertical. So that's why it's small letter h. But in the benefit of the doubt, for students that are not engineering students, so they are not really familiar for the terms. So that's why I need to say this. Vertical distance and horizontal distance. Okay? Then, but all of them are capital T as distance. We change to small letter h as a vertical distance or a height small letter h. So we have the formula. Work is equals to mass and acceleration to gravity times the height. Okay. Now, what is the G? The G, tsaka ba? Imo na po i-memorize. Grabe ha. So, when I was in high school pa rin, 4th year or 3rd year, I memorized all the values of acceleration due to gravity. So, imo sabihin i-memorize ha. Okay. Upat ni siya kabuo. So, metric sakta, magsugod ka sa metric. G is equals to 9.81 meter per second squared. Ha? Duha ra ni ay. Okay, duha ra ni, sorry, nanubraan. Duha ra. G is equals to 32.2 feet per second squared. Ganon. Muna siya mag-substitute diary para makuha niyo ang work. If the problems in the future will say, what is the work done if Peter moved the 2 kilogram bags in a hill which is 30 degrees inclination from the ground? Oh, makuha niyo ang work done. Hindi na ka magamit aning kaya ingon man siya naman siya angle of inclination. Ganan, whatever chucho, di ba? Okay, kailangan sa siya yung mass. Okay, dari-ari. Dari, wa ko siya yung mass dari-ari. Sa original equation, kailangan force pa ba siya at first. So we can say pala na ang weight ang force will just weight and force will just be equal in a vertical position. Force and weight will just be equal na vertical position. In dropping, throwing downward. Okay, something like that. Ha? Remember that one also. Most of the basis, guys, our weight, we are in the earth, is not the same compared to our weight in the moon because of the gravity used. Could either be 9.81 or 22.2. That's why we'll refer the weight, not the mass in that situation. But actually, basically, the unit is just the same. But if you talk about the gravity, it matters a lot. The acceleration due to the gravity, whether it's in an English system or in a metric system. Okay, the unit. Okay, ganun siya. Okay, now ang unit niya per sa akuan sa force in Newton. Right? Force Newton, gina siya per me. Now, mag-careful po tama na sa siya ilain na itong dyne. Okay? Dyne is a unit of force in terms of grams, right? And then the Newton is a unit of force in terms of kilogram, right? So nigawas na siya sa board examination sa among time. Anak siya nga earned sa kuan siya ha sa 2000 board examination. Chemical engineering. Nahinumdum lang ko. Okay? Anak siya earned Ano siya? So this is the unit of energy. What is the unit of energy? Ano ang question? What is the unit? Dugay na ka nakahinulog pa ko, no? What is the unit of energy that involves grams and centimeter? Ganun siya kasimple na. Mga choices mga ganun. BTU, B calorie, C watts, D dime, mga ganun siya, chuchu. Okay, mga ganun. Then E erg. Your answer will be erg. Okay? So, if we have Newton, guys, I will discuss the method. Yun yung kalimtin. Importante kini siya, guys. Nanay siya sa previous sa mga examination. Remember also, this come out in the NCEE in our time. Di ba na siya NSAT before? I don't know what's the meaning of NSAT. But in our time before, ino na sa buhang giro ani. Okay? In CEE before, I am one of the top 10. Okay? Sa results sa Naga National High School. Okay, di na ako iko ang specific place na ako kung asa ba ko ang higayon. Basta nasuod ko sa top 10 sa overall ranking sa NCEE, National Collegiate of Examination, National Collegiate and Entrance Examination. So, nasuod ko sa top 10 sa whole ranking. Okay. Now, I remember one question for sa ERG also. Imagine, naano siya mga questions, nibalik pa din siya pag board examination ako. Really? So it's very, very amazing, right? Grabe pala. So this is the importance of having the stock knowledge. Okay, so erg. So erg, ano na siya ang erg? So time, centimeter. Why? Because you said force times, force is your dime, distance is your centimeter. So erg is equal to time centimeter. And general will be work is equals to force times distance. Now for the Newton. Ang Newton yun ang sikat. Okay, Newton is very popular, just like Tom Cruise in a Hollywood actor in the United States of America. It's just like the equivalent, sikat yun siya, popular. Okay, what do you call this one? Prominent. Okay, renowned. Sikat, ganun siya. Okay, just like that. So, ang Newton pinakasikat sa tanan, derived from Isaac Newton, tungkol sa iyong pangalan. Okay, Newton is equals to, okay, diba? Ano siya? Force. Nasama na yun sa force. Okay, muna na siya nga, Newton, meter. Okay, so this is the joule. Okay, joule. So, joule now is a unit of energy. Erg is a unit of energy. Joule is a unit of energy, but take note, we're using the formula of work. Basically, because work is just equal to energy. Because I said earlier, energy is the capacity and the ability to do work, so it is tantamount with each other, equal in nature. Okay? So, mo na may ingon ko diretso. Di ba kaya i-consider word for word, dili ba yan? Okay, okay. Ang work and energy kalay or diferensya, ang work is capital W and energy is capital E. Right? If we try to be word forward, I will just see also E is equals to force times distance, and it's not that like that. So this work is equals to, you have to understand that the work is technically equal to energy, because you cannot proceed the work without energy. Ganon. So muna siya ang joule is equals to Newton meter. So the question in our NCEE before, that was in 1994, ba ito siya? Okay, and then the board examination also in 2000. Okay, something like that, year 2000. Okay, so what is siya ipakita? What is the unit of an energy in terms of time, centimeter, ganon? The answer will be erg. Okay, ERG. Muna siya ha. Adyo na siya kalimti ang erg. Adyo ko memory anak niya ang erg. Okay da, puntos dito siya na ako. Okay, anak ba? Okay? Muna siya. So, erg is a unit of energy, joule is a unit of energy. So, I need to introduce, guys, a unit of energy na more siya sa mga biological substances and chemical substances in our, shall we say, in our metabolism and in our, shall we say, metabolism. Metabolism is general, right? So, if we speak of metabolism, it could either be the breakdown of large components or components to smaller components, or it could be the reverse also, the production of smaller molecules to larger molecules. So we mean about metabolism too. This is the study of biological metabolism in biology. Okay, apart from the immunology, right? And apart from the plant chemistry, animal chemistry, something like that. And then the immunology. That's why we have immune system. Immune system study is part of biology. Kana mga virus, chupa-chucho. It's a study of biology really. Sa COVID, COVID-19. COVID-19 is a topic of biology in combination with chemistry, and it is specifically linked with epidemiology. Okay, epidemiology is also a branch of biology that studied the disease prevention and control. Epidemiology. Okay, so that's still biology. Okay, and that's there how to prevent the disease from coming in, to accumulate in our body. What are the health protocols that we'll be able to apply? That is the topic of immunology in relation to epidemiology, which are all under the study of biology. Okay. Even though I'm not a biologist, okay, I still have to research on that because it's related to chemical engineering, particularly the biochemistry and the biochemical engineering. But I still have to learn that because in our biochemical engineering, what's missing is the theory and concepts more on the theory of the biological. We are more on the, as I said earlier, we are more on the practical application of the math and the technology in combination of the biology and the chemistry. That's why biochemical engineering. It's not biochemistry kasi eh. Okay? But if you took up BS chemistry or BS chem, their subject equivalent to our biochemical engineering is really the biochemistry. So there's a little difference because we are not more on the technical theory on the biochemistry part. We are more on the solving of the problems, mathematical operation, in combination with the technology, with regards to biology and chemistry. Di ba lahi siya kay theory, man dyan yung pag-usapan dito sa biochemistry. Mo to mga abot sila dito sa mga immunology, sa epidemiology. Broad kayo ilang study regarding theory. Maapil nila ang mga kuan guys, maapil nila dito ang mga white blood cells, red blood cells, katong mga antigen, antibodies, that we need to have more antibodies in our body in order to counteract with the microorganisms or viruses that will attack in our body so that we will not be developing a disease known as COVID-19. Okay, it will not end up with vaccination. We should know also the knowledge for that. And the main role of the white blood cells or the leukocytes, specifically white blood cells, W is to counteract and defeat this bacteria, microorganisms, and other tuberculosis. Now, if your white blood cells are less, it could not fight because they are the defense, just like an antivirus of the laptop and the computer. So the equivalent to that is our antibodies and the white blood cells. Now, kung gamay na yung level mo sa white blood cells, when you go to the medical test, problem. The bacteria and the viruses can easily penetrate to your immune system. Okay, not necessarily with vaccination. Vaccination is just a prevention. That is a treatment part and a cure part. But if we talk about prevention, we need to increase the level of our white blood cells and antibodies. And how can we do that? We need to obtain vitamin C all the time, vitamin D, enough sleep, enough exercise, and green leafy vegetables and citrus fruits. Maog yun siya mo intensify to kill those viruses and bacteria. Vaccination is just an additional. Okay? Additional. Because we need to formulate certain components, especially the secondary metabolites. The secondary metabolites are the ingredients mostly in our vaccines. So these secondary metabolites will react. Okay, will react. But yung ilaron ba? They try to trap these viruses. Inikatrap at yun din niya. Okay? And then, butabang dito ang mga leukocytes, ang mga white blood cells, mga antibodies, na daog judalyon siya. Okay, di jud ka mataktan og sakit. Okay, kung ligon kay kag immune system because you have enough level of vitamin C, other vitamins, nutrients like that, and white blood cells and antibodies. Okay, that's very clear in biology also. Okay, that's why I need to go deeper. Okay, because it's not enough studying biochemical engineering. I need to deal with biochemistry. Okay, the chemistry of all biological substances that we take in our body. So in that way, you can easily troubleshoot, oh, what disease will come in if you have overdosage or overconsumption of oil. Okay, overconsumption, overdosage of glucoses in your body. Okay, overconsumption and overdoses of, let us say, salt in your body. What will happen? Okay, could I develop obesity? Like that, could I develop type 2 diabetes? Could I develop hyperglycemia? Could I develop cardiac infarction, myocardial infarction, or shall I say cerebral infarction, or any cardiovascular diseases such as arteriosclerosis, or which let's say septic shock. Wow, septic shock, sepsis, all kinds of diseases, chronic diseases, chronic reproductive diseases, something like that, and a whole lot more. Okay, guys, muna siya nga kanang mga diseases, dali ra siya supon if you know adequately the concepts of chemistry. Okay, interaction ng ang chemistry, guys. Di magyud mo react ng mga bacteria and organisms good kung wala siya biological substances. You need to understand. Kanusunod na sila mag-abot. Okay, kung hindi man sila kasunod, di wala. Okay, then you have to block them. Okay, since we know lemon has a high level of vitamin C and the pH is very high, then we know also that these viruses have adapted pH in order for them to survive. Then go for that fruits and take in your body so that this viruses will not penetrate because they are afraid for high level of pH, the high level of acidity in your body, or pH 2.2, something like that, and these viruses will be killed. For the first time, it will be able to go to the respiratory lungs. As easy as that, right? All we have to know is to be educated of the chemistry of the different biological substances, how they will react to microorganisms. Viruses are microorganisms. Okay? A lot, bacteria, like, okay, mga ganun, mga E. coli, is E. coli, mga kind of worm in our body. Okay, daghang kay na sila mga germicidal action, germs. Okay? Daghang kay kontra mo sa atong mga kontra yang atong defense ano kana atong kuan, atong white blood cells or antibodies, mga nutrients o mga vitamins. Mo na siya atong mura sa siya atong anti-defender sa atong laptop ng mga antivirus para walay malwares. Mausad na siya ang function sa atong lawas. Dili lang ta technology, mo na siya ang analogy in the same perspective or in the same point of view. Now, kung strong ang atong antivirus or anti-malware sa atong laptop, mo sila sa tao. Kung strong ta, then dili siya makaso. Magsige clean. Magsige siya clean ang atong system, atong immune system sa mga microorganisms so that they can be killed immediately. Okay, ganun siya. Okay guys, so we can really understand that if we study biochemistry, specifically in the topic of immunology and epidemiology, I think in combination of a little bit with physiology and anatomy. Why? Because anatomy is studying of the different parts inside our body, the brain, the liver. If you don't understand that also, problem. How can they interact there? These microorganisms like that. If we have a strong level of high level of oxygen, blah blah blah, so and so. O ganun, di ba? Okay, kaya mamatay na lang itong mga cells if we don't have enough level of oxygen. Okay, so that's why water is very important. Okay, we will drink water at least 8 glasses in a day because it contains oxygen. It will improve the polarity of the substances in our body. Polarity, you know the polarity? The ability to conduct electricity. Okay, we have a stored electricity in our body also. Okay, though it's not high, but at least it has an electricity inside our body. Kailangan mo ito yung polar oxygen we take day by day. Okay, sa water molecule. Okay, muna siya ang hitabo. Mabito ng kuanta ma-electrocuted, kaya mo-react mo ng oxygen sa electricity. Okay, yeah. If we don't have the insulator to step with, all the source of the electrons will flow directly to the insulators rather than to the path of your body, so that you will not be electrocuted if you have an insulators or the path or the electrical cable are well insulated. Kay less man yung thermal conductivity if there's an insulation. Di ba? Ang formula sa thermoresistance, if you can remember, thermoresistance is equals to the length over the thermal conductivity times the thermal diffusivity or the thermal coefficient. Something like that. Okay? You can remember that one. Okay? Ganun na chupa-chuchu. Thermal conductivity. Okay? Diba? I-multiply mo dito. Again, thermal resistance is equals to the length over the thermal conductivity. Okay? Something like that. Muna siya ang formula. Now, kung gamay ang imong thermal conductivity, taas ang iyong resistance. Okay? You get the point. Now, ang kanang mga insulators, rubber, tiles, wood, or doormat, those are insulators that has higher resistance. Okay? To counteract the flow of current, something like that. So, ato na siya dito. Okay? Okay, gamay man ang imong kuan. Kung taas man imong thermal conductivity, gamay man yung resistance. So, gamay man yung resistance. Okay? Mo resist good siya. Okay? You get the point? Kung gamay mo kuan ang imong thermal conductivity, so taas ang imong resistance. Okay, gamay mag thermal conductivity ang kanang mga insulators. Imura rin ang kanang formula guys. Resistance equals to the length over the thermal conductivity. Okay, na naman siya relationship. Kung mataas ang thermal conductivity, gamay ang resistance. If you have a high resistance, gamay ba ang thermal conductivity? Since metals, mostly metals, have high thermal conductivity, so gamay ang iyang thermal resistance. Okay? Since ang kanang imong mga insulators, gamay ang slow or small thermal conductivity, the high ang resistance. So, mao na, dili ka makuryentihan. Ato na siya insulators, ang electrons flow. Kaya it is the path where the electrons flow can make the person electrocuted. Okay? The molecules, the electrons. Okay? It's not the proton, I'm referring to electrons. The negatively charged particles. Okay. Itaas ang akong kung anong gawin that. Okay? Masan dito ako, tumunong sa ako, itaas na kayong time. Charot, kaloka. O diba? So, ang sa ano siya mga equations guys ha? Sa some of the energy equations. And now, stop sa ko. Okay, bis taas na dagan na away na ako mga equations na i-present sa board. Okay? Kaya hindi na siya pwede sa magbalik-balik yung saan pagtutuan ang mga problema, kabaw naman ka. Okay? O ikaw ay bahala ng anong higayuna. Okay? Basta. Basta. Okay? And now, charot, stop sa lang po. Let's go to the other segment. Okay guys? Charot. Ay, nakakaloka. Guys, I never dreamed to become an engineer because before, I dreamed to become a broadcast journalist when I was young. Really. And then due to the, you know, what do you call this one? Presidential Scholarship by Fidel V. Ramos. Okay? There's no course regarding to mass communication. Okay, but I want mass communication major in broadcast journalism because I like that. Okay, and then there's no such scholarship for that. What's in there are all engineering courses, college, arts and sciences. Mga ganun-ganun siya chuba. I don't want arts and sciences. Katong mga accountancy chuba-chucho, mga banking finance, hindi ko ganahan kwarta. Okay, hindi ko ganahan of money matters. Okay, and then aside from English, I love science. Doon sa heart na ako ang chemistry or chemistry o ang physics, mga pure science mo. Ito, nag-chemical engineering na lang ko. Okay, wala may pinaka-doon dito sa kuan. Hindi mo ko ganahan ng mga kuan, mga machine chuba-chucho. Hindi sa ko ganahan ng mga electricity chuba-chucho. Nung sana akong line choice. Yari na lang ko sa chemistry. So muna siya nag-BS chemical engineering dito ko. Okay, muna ang grad sa akong presidential scholarship. Muna siya na. Okay guys, Thank you so much for watching this live streaming and vlog. If you are not yet subscribing my YT channel, then you can subscribe it now, or it's up to you. You have the full freedom to do it or not. And then you can comment also in the comment section as you like, as you wish, or whatever you should want. Okay, and then you can click also the notification bell for some news updates. I am a senior internal voice. This is again Sotero and Nepomuceno Jr. Bye-bye. God bless everybody. See you later for my second segment of live streaming. Babush! Wow! Talaga? Naloloka? Ang haba!